Greeting community TAIFA world. Time is 2:34 p.m. Central Standard Time. The date is 16th of June 2024. Pope Gregory's calendar. It's not 16th of June, a lot of places. Only those who are under Pope Gregory's calendar. I have my regalia on today because it's a very special occasion. The message I'm bringing you is needed. It's much past due. I haven't seen anyone else bring it, so it must be mine to bring. You know, when there's things you see need to be done and nobody's doing it, you got to step up to the plate. It's your job to do it. All right. What is this important message I have for you all? A lot of people have very little understanding about reparations. They are confused about reparations because all the lawyers and legal minds we have, nobody have broke it down. Nobody have shown the people the 5 elements of reparations. If you don't know law, you're lost. Where my book at? That's why I say the art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death. A road either to life or death. A road either to success or failure. Hence, the art of war is governed by 5 constant factors that must be taken into account when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. They are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline. You have to have this a part of your DNA, people. The first chapter of Art of War. It governs everything you do. And get in your mind, this is a spiritual war we in. Because it's a thought, it exists in your mind, imagination. Before you have anything expressed in the physical, it has to start as a thought. From the spiritual. Now, those of you who are lost for words, understanding what's being shared, you need to do your homework. Look up every word you do not understand. And don't just look up what the dictionary said meaning is, because meaning of words change over time. You want to find the origin of the word and how it was used in the beginning. Because when you start studying legal writing, what they call legalism, they don't go on popular definitions. That's why they have a dictionary every 10 years or so, Black's Law Dictionary, because they change the definitions. So you need to go to the root of the word, which is the meaning. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to have a Latin origin. So that means what? You didn't know, have a little Latin. There's no mistake that all these scholarly fields have Latin, medical science, for one, legal science, because you're getting back to the meaning of words. You know, I can talk for days, but I want to make a point of this lecture, which is about reparations and the 5 points or conditions you need to know for reparation to be satisfied. Now, one thing you have to understand, I was distracted for a minute because I have some neighbors and she has a son and a daughter. I've never heard the daughter crying. Every day without fail, that boy's gonna be crying when they get in the car. And she's gonna be hollering at him. It hurts me to the heart to hear that. So I'm just talking to you about it because no one else I can talk about it. You know, in this day and time, nothing is your business. If you say something to somebody, they accuse you of harassment. That's the time we're living in. In a community, that would not happen in a community. Those things would not happen. Okay, I'm old school. They call me. Everywhere I go, hey, old school, what's going on? At first, I said, man, who you talking to? You know, I was kind of offended. I said, why you call me old? But now, hey, that's what the community names me, so I'm going with it. I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it. I'm trying to stall and see if the people are going to start coming in or not. Man, I've been here, I think it's 10 minutes they start coming in. Well, they can come in if they want to. If they don't, that's okay. I'm going to get started. And if you have questions, if you're watching now, if you have questions, uh, be sure there's a question mark at the end so I know it's a question. And be sure it's intelligent so I would read it. And I'll try to get to it at the end of the lecture, not before or not during. I'm not going to be interrupting my lecture once I get started. All right, this is it. Reparations is not only compensation. It's a part of it, but that's not the only condition to be met. What is reparations exactly? It is a human right abuse from one nation to another. So the main condition, well, I won't say the main, one of the conditions that have to be met before reparations is considered is there have to be a cessation of the elements that cause reparations. For example, if a people undergoing human right abuses, it's got to stop. It's got to stop. Or you can't talk about reparations if the violations are still occurring. Has that happened? Not just one now. That's just one. And this proves to me that the lawyers we have in our community, they're doing you a disservice. Why are they not teaching you this? Before you talk about reparations, the conditions have to cease that cause you to want reparations. There has to be some type of assurances that there won't be any reoccurrence. If the people, human rights violated, they've been brutalized, lynched, murdered, and that keep continue going on, then that's not reparations. You don't qualify for reparations until the conditions cease. Okay, now here's another one. Restitution and repatriation. Now, some people think restitution is what we need instead of reparations. Restitution is a part of the elements of reparations. Google these out. Google these things and make sure you understand. Don't believe anything I'm saying. Go back and do your own research. Don't look like they want me to go live today. That's okay. Now, we say repatriation, that's a whole different idea that you haven't thought about. You know what repatriation is? Remember now, this part of restitution, which is the part of reparations. The second element, the first was cessation of hostilities and guaranteed that they won't reoccur. Then your restitution is a payment, some form of compensation, and with that is the reparations. In other words, the idea is this. If the people who are creating the abuses are still in position to do so, they haven't since there's nothing to keep them from happening again. So that's where repatriation comes in. The people who are being abused have to be repatriated out of that environment to be sure the hostilities has stopped and will not reoccur. Give you a good example of this. Very good example. This was in the 50s, 1950s. Uh, Eisenhower, President Eisenhower, he deported at least 1 million people. They didn't call it deportation, they called it repatriation. And this is because these was the Hispanics, the Mexicans who was over here. Some of them came under a special program they called Baserio back in the 20s. So these wasn't people who just came here. They had been here, had families here. But after the war, The war ended in what, 46, 45, 46. There was a lot of talk about the Americans having jobs. And the idea was that these people was taking the jobs from America. So they just round them up and send them back, dropping them off back off in Mexico. And most of them didn't even speak Spanish because they've been in America all this time. That's repatriation, which is a part of reparations. Now, how that relate to us? Well, I'm sure you already saw the idea that if you call yourself African American, what's going to happen? Even now, you got millions of us. Well, I say us. I say so-called black people moving to Africa. Not millions, thousands. So that's saying that okay, you recognize Africa as being your homeland. So if people get reparations, they have to go through repatriations to make sure the conditions are done away with. They will not be repeated. I haven't got to the good one yet. Hold on. So we covered two so far: sensation, assurance of non-repetition of the hostilities, and we talked about restitution. And with that comes reparation. Now that's one. Restitution and reparation is considered one element. In other words, why would you be paid sums of money for abuses by a government that hasn't stopped? They have nothing in law to prevent them from redoing what they've done, repeating the violations. This is why there has to be satisfaction. Satisfaction means, remember there's a legal term called satisfaction of claim. And what that means is that if you give somebody something in satisfaction of a claim and they agree to it, then you can't bring that claim again. There has to be satisfaction of claim. Now, how do you determine if something is satisfied? One way is if a people have repented of the abuses and make promises that they will not do it again, apologies. That's part of people asking for apologies or forgiveness. Now remember when the judge are sentencing these hardcore criminals, what do they look for? If the chat was open, maybe I closed it, I don't know. If the chat was open, I'll ask this question. Look like, I'm sure now there's a determination for me not to go live with this. But hopefully you'll see the video afterwards. Because I would ask this question. What is the main thing a judge looks for in sentencing a hardened repeat offender or any grievous crime? Let's start with an R. E. M. O. R. You got it? Right. Remorse. If the defendant has no remorse, he's going to get the maximum. Because without remorse, what's being said is that, hey, so what? I pay a fine. I'm not gonna stop. I go back out. You release me. I'm gonna go back out and do it again. So let me ask you a question. African Americans, since you call yourself that, have you ever sought from whoever's abusing you, whether it's the government or institution or slavery? See, I have to say you people because I don't call myself, I don't identify as African American. No, I honor my ancestors. And they say I can't use those terms like black, African American, colored. He says it's abomination for me to use those terms referring to us as. So when you find out who you are, you won't be calling yourself a color. You won't be denigrating your ancestors and their allegiance to the land that the Creator gave them. You would honor them, but you got to do your research and find out who they are. So, my people, African Americans, when has anyone shown remorse from the crimes that you allege were committed against you? Has there been any apology? Has there been any public acknowledgement? Have they stopped? You can answer this question yourself. So now, that means there's no satisfaction. Because if your satisfaction of paying a claim, of bringing the people back from the damages they've suffered, then you got to be sorry for what you did. I want you to wait and see if someone is sorry for the slave trade. And not just in words, but in actions. They got to do something to show their remorse. So you need to wait for that first before you talk about reparations. Okay, so I think I covered all of them. Said one more left, and that's rehabilitation. Now, who need to be rehabilitated? The offender. If he's committing these horrendous acts and he don't know that what he's doing is wrong, and he's not rehabilitated, he's going to do it again. Look at him like an alcoholic. He always would be an alcoholic, but he needs to be rehabilitated to let him know that, hey, these actions, this conduct is not right. I don't think they've ever faced that idea that what is being done against the so-called minorities is not right. Why? Because they use everything in the book to justify it. From being a cursed people of Cain in the Bible, was dark skinned. Remember, he was cursed, and he said, "Oh God, they're gonna kill me, and God gonna put a mark on them so they won't kill him." Evidently, the mark was dark skin, the mark of Cain. But did that stop them from killing him? No. Well, I would like to answer your questions. However, the powers that be decided I wasn't going to have a live video today. So put your question in the comments. If the video even allowed to be published. Talked about reparation, the elements needed for reparations, being sensations and assurance that there won't be a repeat. In other words, before you want take someone to court, they got to stop violating you. They got to stop. Two, restitution and repatriation. You got to be taken away from that environment so it can't reoccur. And that's where compensation to help you do that, to help you move, relocate. That's where the compensation comes in. Otherwise, let's say if you got compensated tomorrow, your condition not going to change. And you be broke just a matter of time because the money would just go from you back to the institutions that you claim that are abusing you. If you don't have your own institutions, that's exactly what's going to happen. So you need to be re-educated, rehabilitated on both sides. If you take your money, so-called money, that's another video, and you don't know how to spend it, you creating the same conditions for generations. Well, I think that's it. I'm going to close out. Go back and re-listen as much as you need it to get the idea, the substance of what's being shared here. Peace